Alright, today I thought I'd show off my Taurus Model 94. It's a 2-inch barrel, 22 rimfire. You can take a long rifle or shorts. Just give a look at that. That's just your plain Jane revolver. Taurus trademark, made in Brazil. I guess features of this revolver is it shoots bullets. It's a double and single action. Single action. Double action. And it has a swing out cylinder. And yep, that's 9 shots. Pretty sweet, huh? I guess another feature is this safety lock here. These guns come with a key that you can use to turn that safety lock. It locks the gun up. Other than that, that's pretty much all the features of this gun. Revolvers are very simple. There's not a lot to talk about. It's a pretty small little gun. Here's the size of my hand next to that gun. In the hand, it's pretty concealable. This is a 22 LR though, so it's actually just nice for walking around your pocket and shooting it. Here's a gun next to a large semi-auto. Yeah, it's pretty small. It's about J-frame size. I picked this gun up used a while back. I was just looking for a nice 22 revolver, originally looking at the Rough Riders. Then I saw this Taurus in there. You got all the Rough Riders and everything, single 6, all very small guns. So I might as well get a little snub-nosed revolver, right? Always wanted one. All the detectives carry them and stuff. It's TV shows. That swing-out cylinder, thing of beauty. Rather than having a loading gate. There's a story about this. I had it for a little bit, and after about maybe 1,000 rounds, the hammer transfer bar, I guess that's another feature of this gun. It has a hammer transfer bar, so it's drop safe. You could drop it on the hammer, and see that nub always runs into the frame before it hits the firing pin, unless the hammer transfer bar is up due to you pulling fully on a trigger. But that little transfer bar broke off from the trigger. It's connected to the trigger, and I had to bring it back. Luckily, I just decided to get the insurance that the gun store sold. I decided to get it. It was pretty cheap, and this is a Taurus, so you want to be kind of careful. And luckily, that was all free for me, and they just sent it in, and they gave it back to me with a new transfer spring in it. Transfer bar. However, the techs at the place I had it at did an awful job. The side plate wasn't even completely on. If you look, my screws are all but stripped, and they nicked up the frame, taking the screws out. Like, oh, what is Loctite? How do I take off a Loctite? A gunsmith should know that. So it's really awful that my gun is nicked up. But this is just a little cheap Taurus, so I don't really mind it. They didn't really say anything about it. If that transfer bar breaks again, I just get a free gun, so that's pretty cool. This is such a simple gun. There's nothing to talk about. I guess it's got this plastic insert, and it helps you see a little bit. But I find that the sight. Let me see if I can get you down the sights. The front sight is huge, and it kind of just gets. It just blocks your target. Anyway, it's not very focused on that front sight. Let's see. Yeah, anyway, the front sight's big, and it gets in the way of the target. I suppose I'll show you the lockup on this revolver. Got some snap caps. It's easy to load 2 at a time, or even 3 at a time. Let me just kind of try and demonstrate that for you. Hold the revolver like I really would. Drop them in. actually work the action, it might sound a little bit rough. That's because of the snap caps are so beat up. Regular bullets would be more uniform than a beat up snap cap. Alright, let's try lockup. The idea behind this is you pull the trigger and you hold the trigger all the way back. And at that point, the revolver is completely locked. It'll have the welded to the frame feeling, so let's see how the Taurus does. Alright, I'm holding the trigger back. Turn it. Just a little bit of give, but that's okay. But back and forth, how about back and forth? Nothing, weld to the frame basically. That's a pretty nice lockup on this gun. I've taken it apart and it looks very good. It's pretty simple. Not a lot to go wrong in this kind of gun. You're never going to have the feeding problems of the 22 semi-autos. You can put a bunch of weird ammo inside, different round in every cylinder, and you'll still be okay. Because it revolves, it feeds on its own, just like that. The trigger on the single action here. It's kind of really light. Let's see if I can kind of demonstrate. It's probably about, I don't know, 7-pound trigger. It really depends on how heavy your hammer spring is. There. Couldn't get enough leverage just pushing. It's pretty light. Feels nice. And your double action. Stock this gun, it has a really heavy hammer spring. It really is quite heavy. I've done a little bit of smithing on my hammer spring to make it a little bit lighter. But just stock, it's really heavy. You just gotta break it in a lot. You gotta really fire and get used to firing a heavy hammer. It's got a heavy double action, just like a revolver should. And it's very uniform every time you do it. So you can bring it back, hold it, aim, and then fire. Bring it back, hold it, aim, and then fire. Or you just fire, fire. But you flinch more that way. Guess I'll show you what's inside of this thing while we're here. You're just gonna need a flathead screwdriver. I'm just gonna use 2 of them. You'll see why I need 2 of them later. But you start with the grip here. There's a screw. You undo this grip screw. Be careful not to ruin your threads, like the tech who handled my gun. Someday I'll pick up new screws for this gun, but they're still intact threads, so I can still use it. Make sure you have a nice tray so you don't lose your screws. I got a magnetic tray for me. Now you can just kind of force the grips apart. You see how small the grip actually is on this? It looks real funky, but actually it's quite easy to pull the trigger that way. I prefer a smaller grip, I think. But these grips really fit in the hand quite nicely. They're just stock rubber grips with a steel plate inside. And they have the Taurus symbol. You can see this, usually the spring is painted yellow. Mine's silver because I sanded it down in order to weaken the spring a little bit, so the trigger would be easier. Alright, so the next part of this is removing your cylinder. You go for the biggest screw here on the frame. Let me try to zoom in on that for you. Alright, be careful with this screw because it has a detent and spring inside of it. See, as I unscrewed it, already unsprung. But it can be stuck inside of the screwdriver. See, luckily I have a magnetic screwdriver, and the spring and detent have stuck to it. Let me try to get a close up on the spring and detent for y'all. So be real careful because you can lose these parts. Spring, detent, screw. Put them all together and put them to the side. Okay, now what you can do is back out here. What you can do is